Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is Game on Cloud 9 here, and today I'm here to bring you guys the new Naruto Manga 659 prediction. And I know some of you guys out there may be wondering, like, why my voice sounds maybe a little bit weird to some of you out there in this video, and it has nothing to do with the sound. It has to do with me just getting a cold basically over the weekend, and so I'm just now getting over something. But anyway, before I jump into the synopsis slash review slash prediction part of the video, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to a friend of mine slash fellow reviewer. Some of you guys may have heard of him or may have actually seen him on a couple of my live streams, and he's even been on the Otaku Battle before. Really Tachi. If a lot of you guys aren't familiar with him, basically he does Naruto reviews like a lot of the people too. He does Bleach reviews occasionally, but that's not the only thing he does. He does a ton more stuff, way more than that. He does one-shot reviews. He reviews other anime, like underrated anime. I think he does even freezing reviews if some of you guys are fans of freezing. And now I think he did Attack on Titan before when Attack on Titan was going on. Heck, he may even be doing the manga right now, but I know he does loads of shit. So I definitely think that you guys should go ahead and take a look at him if you're a fan of After Effects videos. And basically, what that is showing like different special effects, or showing anime techniques with special effects, such as you can make yourself look like you're doing like the spirit gun if you know how to use After Effects right, or doing the Rasengan, which I believe he has those videos on his channel. Then you may get a kick out of seeing something like that. So go ahead and give him a look if you like his content. Subscribe to him. Comment on his stuff. Show your appreciation. Anyway, now this Naruto chapter definitely needs to be talked about because I had one major problem I'm going to talk about later on. But to give a quick synopsis of it, no, the chapter title actually officially is Biju versus Madara. But I mean, Biju versus Madara, I feel like it wasn't even a contest in this week's chapter. I mean, granted, I like Madara a lot, but I mean, he was getting his butt whooped. I mean, thrown around. He was like a freaking I don't know, chew toy for the tail beast this week. I mean, granted, he didn't have his eyes, but then I don't know. I mean, I had a huge problem with that. Or actually, that kind of connects to my problem with him not having his eyes, but I'll explain that a little later. So, of course, when the chapter starts off, we see Gara and Shikaku, of course, mainly stealing the show by using. I know they use this sand technique where basically Shikaku fired these gun-like sand bullets at Madara. And Madara, of course, he got all shot up with the sand bullets. Madara, being overconfident and cocky, is basically like, this isn't enough to kill me. This can't really do anything. But then quickly, Gara goes ahead and like immobilizes him in midair because some of the sand that got in his body basically is of course, Gara can control Shikaku's sand, so he's able to control the inside of Madara's body from that point forward. And then that's when he gets the beat down. The tail beast starts smacking him around, knocking him left and right, all of them. Then then that's when Shikaku then uses some special sand sealing pyramid, which I actually kind of liked. I like how it had the markings on it and all that. And he does it with his body. And then right when it seems like Madara's going to be sealed up, like all the times, Madara busts out. Now, this time, it didn't make a whole lot of sense because why? He used Susanoo. Now, I don't get how he used it because he has no eyes, but he did. And, he cuts through it like it's nothing. Everybody looks shocked. And then from that point forward, then Naruto makes an appearance. He smacks down Madara with his one of his tails. And then all the tail beasts basically jump in. Even the eight tails, after basically moving all the other shinobi to another place so that they wouldn't be in the whole mess that's going on right now, and they start giving him a tail beast tail smackdown. So they're all hitting him with their tails, and then Madara hops out of the smoke. He's missing an arm, and he's pretty bloody at this point. But then Zetsu appears, takes out or actually has a Rinnegan, gives Madara his Rinnegan. Madara also takes his eye, plops it in his socket, and then pretty much proceeds to say he's going to have fun with this now. And that's the end of the chapter. Now, where my problem lies with the chapter, mainly, well, one, the chapter felt really fast-paced. I mean, I don't know, I felt like there could have been more content. Granted, you could say it was just a setup chapter because Kishimoto has a habit of liking to end his volumes on a huge, like, big cliffhanger or a huge note. And the reason why I say that is because if you ever notice the pattern, and I say this all the time, whenever we get close to the end of what a volume we considered, which is probably be around like, you know, since a volume considers like 10 chapters, I believe, or either 9 or 10 chapters. Once we get around like the ninth chapter, that's when something huge always happens, and you can already tell something big is about to happen now that he has an eye. But pretty much, I mean, I don't know, like I feel like there still could have been some kind of explanation how he used Susanoo in this week's chapter. I know some people are probably going to say, oh, he used it because Susanoo is something that is, like all you need Manga Kyo Sharingan for is to be able to gain the ability. Once you have it, you can never lose it. But it still doesn't make a whole lot of sense because if you look at when Sasuke used Susanoo before, back when he first got Manga Kyo Sharingan, anytime that his eyes would lose their sight, Susanoo would start to fade away. And it's been hinted at, not only hinted, but pretty much almost said that you need your eyes in order to perform this technique. I mean, if that's the case, you might as well just go and get any old Sharingan. If you just needed to see, and that's pretty much it. But you can still use all the same abilities. That's why there was so much important on the user not overusing their eyes and straining their eyes. I mean, granted, I can accept the fact if a user goes blind and maybe they can still use their EMS abilities because Itachi was basically almost perfectly blind when he fought against Sasuke in the end, and he was using Susanoo. In fact, that's the first time we ever saw Susanoo. But he still had the eyes himself, I mean, the eyes themselves, in order to channel the power for it. It wasn't like the eyes weren't even there at all. I mean, it's almost like Naruto using Biju mode without any tailed beast. I mean, granted, I could see maybe him using chakra mode only because he did rip the chakra out of the nine tails, or at least rip some of it out of the nine tails. So I could see maybe chakra mode, but Biju mode is supposed to be when you meld your chakra together and you get that open cloak and everything. If he went and did that without a tail beast, that would actually absolutely make no sense, and that's basically what happened in this week's Naruto chapter with Madara using Susanoo. Now, granted, I'll give Kishimoto like 2 chapters to explain this. Maybe 3, depending on the cliffhanger of the second one, if it looks like he's about to get into explanation. But other than that, this is something I don't like to say because I'm a huge Naruto fan. I'm not a person that normally goes around fishing for quote unquote plot holes like a lot of people will say, or people will say, oh, the series lacks logic and all that. I don't feel that way, but that would be something that would classify as a plot hole if it's not explained because again, she has neither eyes for a reason. They've always been said their secret to their powers in their eyes. So if he's using Susanoo without eyes, it's like what the heck, there was. I mean, you might as well have just taken Sasuke's eyes in the previous chapter if you could do all the same stuff. I mean, I don't know if maybe it has something to do with maybe Zetsu being there. Maybe Zetsu somehow is helping him use the power of Susanoo or something since Zetsu is connected to Madara in some way. But I don't know. It's definitely something that it may be a little hard for Kishimoto to actually explain and make perfect sense how it works. I mean, it could be a case. Now, this is a theory that I'm after looking on forums forever to see if anybody can explain this. You know, there is a possibility that maybe when you close your eyes, you can somehow utilize your powers to an extent if you have if your Sharingan aren't actually, you know, in their in their respective eye sockets. And the reason why I say that is only due to the fact that Obito, we seen that when he obviously when he closes his or in the flashback when he closed his eye when he didn't have his other eye, because of course Kakashi has it, and he was running through the woods, trying to get to the battlefield. He was able to see Kakashi kill Ren, through that eye socket, showing that the eyes are still connected to him in some way. Not only that, but I think one time he did manage to stop Kakashi from using Kamui on the Ghetto Maso early on before he was unmasked. So it's possible maybe, they have some form of control over their eyes, even if they're not in their body. But, I mean, shoot, I mean, it still needs to be explained. It's something that we shouldn't have to guess about. That's pretty big to just be making guesses about. It's not like a minor thing. Now, as for some people going on and talking about why Madara can just plop an eye into his socket and, it automatically works. Well, one thing I could say is Naruto isn't House. It's not House. It's not something that I expect for it to explain every little detail as far as medical stuff. Not all of it's gonna make perfect sense because again, at the end of the day, it's anime. But I do think that, and if I were to make any kind of theory about it, I mean, I would just say Madara. This is not the first time he's ever put an eye into his socket before. I mean, aside from getting EMS, it's hinted to that Madara has probably done this numerous times. I mean, in the Obito flashback, the eyes that he had weren't his original pair either. On top of that, he's the one who actually gave Obito. He linked him up with the Senju DNA and all that other stuff. So I mean, we know he has experience with doing this sort of thing. And then on top of that, you know, if I were to go ahead and use the whole send your DNA route, he does have Hashirama cells in his body plus stage 1 on, which gives him insane healing abilities. So if that counts for anything, then that's an explanation. But the Susanoo thing definitely needs to be explained. That definitely kind of made the chapter drop a little bit in quality, or not a little bit, a lot in quality for me this week, only because I feel like Kishimoto should have had enough room to explain something like that instead of this whole tail beast beatdown. And even if he was going to go the tail beast beatdown route, I feel like they could have done more than just throw their tails around. I mean, why not? Let's see what the tail beasts are known for. We all know that they have their own unique abilities. I mean, Shikaku has shown sand off. We've seen the four-tailed Jinchuriki use some lava before, and it's always hinted that he can use lava. Why aren't we seeing him actually using lava now? I mean, I would have liked to see him maybe fire some lava at Madara or something. We've seen the Six Tails at least do some kind of slime or whatnot. But I mean, I would have liked to see more unique abilities coming from him if that's what it was gonna basically revolve around, not just I'm gonna smack you around with my tail, like I'm just wagging my tail kind of deal. So I don't know. That's basically the problems that I really have with this week's Naruto chapter. It's basically around Madara using Susanoo out of nowhere with no explanation, and then on top of that, sort of the pacing was off this week in Naruto, considering how fast it actually went by. Again, I think that we're going to get a big chapter next week because it's going to be the end of a volume. So I think it'll be pretty exciting, but I'm just hoping that Kishimoto doesn't leave out an explanation because that's pretty much 2 chapters with no explanation on how Madara is doing this stuff. I mean, granted, I think there's a good possibility we may get one because of the in the previous chapter when Madara fought against Sasuke and all that, he somehow stopped Amaterasu, and then Hashirama even seemed like he was taken by surprise on how Madara absorbed ninjutsu. Right after that, you know what I mean? And it's not like it's the first time that he ever did that. He did that prior to that, but the difference is that he didn't have Rinnegan, and then Naruto was even shocked that Madara closed his eyes for some reason. So, again, needs to be explained by Kishimoto. If he doesn't, I'm giving him 2 chapters and maybe 3 at the most, and that's when if we don't get it by then, it's a plot hole in the series, and it's a pretty big one considering how the Sharingan works. It has to do with power scales and how the eyes that the series pretty much revolves around actually work. So as far as my theories go, because I've pretty much ranted and rambled on a bit too much now with the Sharingan now. I would have to say, I think in next chapter, I mean, Madara, now that he's going to be doing, he's probably going to use some Rinnegan techniques, maybe. I mean, maybe use a little bit of, hopefully some Shinra Tensei, a little bit here and there, maybe Asura Path. I mean, I'm not sure to the extent what he can do with one eye, but I'm pretty sure he can do, at least a fair number of Rinnegan techniques with it. I mean, I doubt that he couldn't. I mean, I doubt they would have left it off as a cliffhanger if he wasn't going to do anything huge or monumental with it next week. I kind of would have liked if Madara would have actually whipped out some of Hashirama's techniques this past week, though. Not to complain about the chapter more, but I definitely think that would have been the more awesome route if Madara would have busted out like a 1,000-hand Buddha or something like that, since he does have Hashirama Sage mode. But I don't know. I mean, I definitely think that the Rinnegan is going to he's going to do a fair number of different things with that. I actually think that maybe Hashirama may get controlled by him in this next week's chapter. That could be a good possibility because he already he already has the rods in him, so why not just go ahead and follow up on it now that you have the Rinnegan and possess his body with the 6 paths of pain technique, and then we have Hashirama also helping Madara through some indirect means. So that could be a huge possibility as well from what we see next week. I'm gonna go and say that maybe the chapter next week will start off with the explanation as far as how Madara's been doing the stuff that he's been doing, only due to the fact that since he did just plop it in his eye socket, I feel like it will be the most appropriate time for the characters on the battlefield to question what he's been doing this entire time or how he's been able to use his techniques, and then he can go into further explanation. And maybe from that point forward, then that's when he starts doing this epic shit, and then the chapter can end on a cliffhanger with him controlling Hashirama, which would be a pretty good cliffhanger to the end of a volume. I don't know when we're gonna see some more Obito versus, or I should say, Black Zetsu, or Obito possessed by Black Zetsu versus Minato and Kakashi stuff, but I don't think we're gonna see it next week. I think it'll be a little bit before we see that again. Um, I remember I talked about the whole chakra fruit deal. I'm starting to think maybe he won't go after them. You know what? Maybe if Obito happens to crush the other Renegon Eye, which I think is a good possibility. Some may not want to see that, but I think he may end up doing it because Obito has to have a redemption moment. Then maybe then the chakra fruit will appear just to see, for Madara to obviously still have some type of power boost and still be a threat on the battlefield without it, without him just basically quickly falling off or getting killed off by the Alliance. Because again, obviously, Madara being the villain, he has to go out in the most epic way possible. With him being probably the final villain or one of the final villains in the series. If you count Sasuke, if you don't count Sasuke, I mean, you count Sasuke, then I guess he's not the final villain. But I think Sasuke obviously is going to have his little part in the end. This next year that's coming up. So yeah, that's pretty much where I stand on what I think is going to happen next week in Naruto. I don't think that Obito crushing Eye and all that is going to happen next week, but I think Hashirama may end up getting controlled by the end of next week's chapter, like fully controlled by Madara, and hopefully Madara starts showing off some other Renegon techniques as well, and possibly an explanation in the beginning of it. Other than that, you know, nothing else to say other than, you know, I guess make sure to check out my next video. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. And I also plan on still doing a video on these particular... here we go. Oop, I'm doing it all wrong. Wait, how does this go? Oh, here we go. There we go. These particular books, in case some of you guys don't actually know about them. I got them while I was in Japan. I keep saying I'm going to do a video about these because I find it pretty interesting. And actually, some of the stuff in here actually is in English, too. So I actually can show you guys and read it off to you. But I don't know when I'm going to actually do it. But I'm going to try to do it quite soon. Because it actually has, you know, a lot of recent stuff in there, too. I mean, not like recent as far as like past like 3 or 4 months recent, but this year recent. I mean, it's stuff probably from the beginning of the year that's actually in this book. So anyway, again, don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe. Check out Ryu Itachi's channel. Let me know what you guys think is going to happen in next week's chapter of Naruto. Do you think that the whole Susanoo thing makes sense? And if you think it makes sense, can you explain it to me so I can understand? Because I'm hoping it's not going to be a plot hole because I, definitely, I don't know, I definitely feel like, it's something that could easily, well, not easily be explained, but it didn't have to be a plot hole. And that's mainly due to the fact that if he wanted Madara to do some epic shit to break out of the freaking sand jutsu, why not just have him use the Thousand Hand Buddha or something like that? I mean, he had Mokuton, so I think Kishimoto could have wrote his way out of that fairly easily, but I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you later.